Hey, Piper.
You holding up, Blue?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna make it into work today. Sorry, I'm feeling a bit sick.
How sick are you?
Thanks for asking in a totally natural and not edited together way. I am pretty sick. Here, let me show you.
Atom baby, little atom bomb. I want her in my wigwam. She's just the way I want her to be. Million times harder than TNT.
Can you beat Fallout 4 with every negative effect? Almost. Yeah, I know you noticed that almost that I snuck in there. Here's the lowdown. I need to beat the game's main storyline in survival mode whilst sleep deprived, over encumbered, starving, dehydrated, and suffering withdrawal from every addiction. Just a normal Wednesday. I'm not including niche conditions like mole rat disease. I'm classing radiation as an environmental hazard, so I'll just be dealing with it as per a normal playthrough. And I'll be letting diseases just play out naturally, since these occur as a result of my other ailments anyway. I'll go into more detail about the effects of these conditions when we get to them. But since I like to do everything within the game itself, without console commands or mods, this run will consist of a setup phase on normal difficulty, where I'll be avoiding any combat, not engaging with the main quest at all beyond leaving the vault, and generally minimising XP gains to stay low level while I get myself as messy as possible, followed by the challenge itself. Once I've switched to survival mode to finish achieving whatever the opposite of peak male performance is, the run officially begins, and from that point onwards, I won't be doing anything to alleviate my symptoms. No eating food or corpses, no drinking, no addictive chems, no antibiotics, etc. Sleeping is allowed, as it's the only way to save in survival, but only for 1 hour at a time, as this does nothing to your tiredness. I can take perks that help somewhat, but not if they completely nullify any of the negative effects, e.g. strong back rank 4. Is that enough for you?
Is it?
Okie dokie.
Looking good, if I do say so myself.
I downed my venti choca-mocha wacka-floccacino, got ready for some of the old boom boom pow, chilled out with the fam, misplaced my baby, and stumbled my way out of Vault 111 into the big blue yonder. Let's quickly talk stats. Once the setup phase was over, all my special points would effectively be at 1. But this doesn't affect your ability to take perks, so here's my starting spread. I would definitely want 9 endurance, but I was unsure if solar powered would be useful at any point. So I went for 10 to be safe. 2 int so I could benefit from Idiot Savant later, but still take medic. I then went 9 perception, 4 luck, and the rest at 1. Why? I have no idea. Look, I think I had it in my head that Sniper needed 9 perception, not 8. And also forgot that the perception bobblehead is in Concord. So I should have gone 7 perception, 5 luck, 2 charisma, and the others at 1. Great start. I wouldn't be speaking to Codsworth until I started the run proper. So for now, I looted everything in Sanctuary and recruited Dogmeat to take care of the odd mole rat on my behalf. And companionship, of course. After a small detour to the robotics disposal ground near Sanctuary to hack a sentry bot and help myself to some fusion cores and a fat man, I began my journey south. First stop, Drumlin Diner, to side with Wolfgang and talk Trudy down in order to unlock them both as vendors, before a straight shot down to Diamond City, making a brief stop at an unmarked red rocket in Cambridge to grab my main weapon for the start of the run, a hardened sniper rifle. The mutants and security outside Diamond City kindly donated their gear to me after tiring themselves out and having a pavement nap. I met Piper and her weird mouth and helped myself to my first 2 perks of the run as I just hit level 3. Medic for better heals, and Cannibal, which I was purely taking for thematic reasons and would be of no use to me at all. By heading south out of DC and taking a very specific path, you can reach Good Neighbour only discovering one other location en route, hopping over a wall near the end of the overpass to spawn in the easy way.
You let me know if anything catches your fancy.
Okay, Daisy, hear me out. I mean, yeah. Although I'd unlocked access to several vendors at this point, the Hotel Rexford in Goodneighbour had the most useful one for now.
Oh man, someone new.
Fred, a man with cotton wool for brains, chems leaking out of every pore, and the uncanny ability to smoke a cigarette through the palm of his hand.
You. I love you. If all my customers were...
Please shut the fuck up.
You're still.
First step of my inexorable crawl towards total organ failure was getting myself addicted to everything under the sun, which would require at least one of each chem. Common items like Jet, Mentats, Buff Out, Psycho, Med-X or alcohol can be easily bought or found. I picked up some Day Tripper from Valenti Station near Goodneighbour, dipped into Fenn's street sewer outside DC to help myself to some Excel while Dogmeat played with the ferals, and grabbed a Daddy-O from a toilet bowl in South Boston PD. I'm okay, really. For the rest, I made sure I'd looted everything I could for caps in the locations I'd visited and farmed Fred for them. Vendors' inventories aren't determined until you start talking to them, so by quick saving before bartering, you can keep reloading the quick save to refresh their stock. The probabilities of some of these items appearing are pretty low, but with some patience, I got my hands on one of everything else I needed, and it was time to get It's almost impossible to get addicted to any chem after only taking it once. So it was time for the real reason I brought Dogmeat. Sorry boy, I lied about the companionship bit.
Wait there.
This is only possible with the Contraptions Workshop DLC. But by building a conveyor with a storage unit at one end and a hopper with a container attached to it at the other, you can tell Dogmeat to wait here, feed an item you want to duplicate into the hopper by placing it in the container, and then tell him to pick it up when it reaches around here on the conveyor belt. The item will be deposited in the storage unit, but Dogmeat will also grab it and drop it for you, because he's the goodest boy. And also possibly an interdimensional being whose power transcends reality itself. With 5 of everything ready to go, it was actually time to get fucked.
Psycho,
Chems.
Mentats,
Chems.
Buff Out,
Chems.
Med-X,
Chems.
Fury,
Chems.
Comex,
Chems.
Excel,
Chems.
Jet.
Chems.
Of course, I'm not interested in the positive effects of the chems. I'm interested in the bad ones that manifest once withdrawal kicks in, which across the board look like this. Mr. Codsworth, I don't feel so good. I might be done taking addictive chems now, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't need other medical help to get by, namely Stimpaks. So many Stimpaks. These are relatively pricey to buy in the early game, where most enemies drop shitty gear that's worth hardly anything. So I decided that buying blood bags and antiseptic to craft them myself would be more cost effective. And after scrapping and selling almost everything from the settlements I'd unlocked so far, and indulging in a spot of bartering with all the vendors I had access to, I was able to craft a bunch to top up the ones I'd already found so far. Trust me, I'd need them, especially since I'd no longer be able to make these myself once I switched over to survival mode. Speaking of which, the next step was to do just that before celebrating with a hearty meal. This gave me the Dark Craving addiction, which is exclusive to survival. It has no real implications for the run, since I wouldn't be eating any food or bodies regardless on principle. It's just thematic, as I wanted a complete list of addictions. Then, I picked up some stuff I'd held onto to make sure I could get over-encumbered straight away. Being over-encumbered means no running or fast travel, but in survival mode, this also means another -2 to agility and endurance, as well as your legs periodically becoming crippled and taking health damage as a result. Finally, I sat in a chair, doing absolutely nothing for several days until I became seriously starving, thirsty, and sleep deprived. Oh, yeah, and I played some Fallout 4 as well. This gives me one final set of huge debuffs, the net effect of which would set all my special stats at 1, and massively reduce my AP. making that basically useless except for spotting enemies. But I'd like to draw special attention to this as well. Fun. Crafting stim packs had got me to level 4, so I took the first rank of Demolition Expert, as I'd be using explosives a lot in this run, and it was finally time to slowly die my way across the Commonwealth.
As I live and breathe.
Codsworth.
Alright, come on buddy, you can be my meat shield. That isn't made of meat. Given that I kept losing chunks of health, I didn't want to take longer than necessary when just moving from A to B. So I'd made sure to pick up the Switchblade just outside Vault 111 at the start of the run. Why?
Every day I'm shuffling.
By attacking with a fast melee weapon in third person, you can shuffle forwards quicker than the slow walk restriction of being over encumbered. Fear me, for I am speed. Although I had routed this run quite precisely on paper, I wasn't playing on paper. So the only way to find out how difficult this would actually be with all the restrictions would be to suck it up and just do it. And Concord would be my testing ground. So I crept around the west side of town and sniped the handful of raiders outside the museum to complete the first main quest of the game. Out of time. The museum's interior is also fairly simple to clear. Snipe the 2 raiders on the walkway above, deal with the guy in the next room, help myself to a fusion core, grenade the 2 raiders in the room upstairs, and dispose of the last 2 through the doorway to meet Preston, who ain't no 1 minute man. No, wait, he is literally the one and only Minuteman. With the introductions out of the way, I made my way onto the roof and prepared to finally feel overpowered. Or not. Okay then, plan B. Snipe the first few raiders from the side of the museum, shuffle back around to trigger the Deathclaw spawn, wait for it to deal with the remaining raiders, and then unload my shittiest gun into it from the safety of this building until it dies. Of course, I did this first time without any issues. Second time. Third time.
I could do this all day.
Oh, whatever. Codsworth did his job perfectly by getting downed. I looted everything around, took 2 more perks as I'd reached level 6 now, namely Life Giver rank 1 for 20 extra HP and Toughness rank 1 to make me feel slightly less like a wet paper bag, and rested up in a nearby house to save. Since being over encumbered will regularly cripple you, and I was also taking constant damage, I had been popping stim packs like crazy for this section to counter this, because otherwise you can't sneak or jump anymore. I used up around 35 just to clear Concord. Now I had my T45, this was less of an issue, as power armour allows you to sneak and jump regardless of health conditions. And here's the thing. Although the chunks of damage I take as a result of my long list of ailments can bring me very close to 0 HP, they're designed to never actually be able to kill me outright. So, from here on in, my strategy would be to shuffle or sneak around at minimum HP for any sections where I could avoid combat, and only heal up before and during enemy encounters. I'm sure that'll work out well. What's that you say? The main quest of this game? I headed back to Sanctuary with Preston to get given the first step Minutemen quest, which I'd be ignoring until later, and began the long shuffle down to Diamond City. From Drumlin Diner, I could take the road south to the outskirts of Cambridge, which I skirted around the west side of, being careful of the various mines and ghouls in the area, hit up another bed here, and went to the police station to help the Brotherhood of Steel with the fire support quest. And by help, I mean stand off to one side throwing Molotovs while Dance took a wave of ferals to the body like some kind of weird ghoul bukkake. I'll be back later, my tin can compadre. A ghoul took the fact I'd murdered its entire family tree 5 minutes earlier a little too personally. Just get over it, dude. I inched my way into Diamond City, coughed all over Piper while she interviewed me for some low effort XP.
You holding up, Blue?
Yeah.
Recruited her as a follower, and spoke to Ellie at Valentine's Detective Agency to complete Jewel of the Commonwealth and start Unlikely Valentine. Two more perk points, don't mind if I do. Thanks. I put 1 point into luck and then took Idiot Savant, because, given my earlier screw up with special points, it's appropriate. Also, the potential for extra XP is too good to turn down, as I'd want to reach level 20 as early as possible, for reasons. After a little shopping and Molotov crafting, it was time to head out to Park Street Station to rescue Nick. And to do this, I took basically the same path I did earlier when travelling to Goodneighbor. Here's how it goes in more detail. Head south of DC, go east past the rationing site, avoiding the rabid Radstag here, keep on past the Red Rocket and south of Mass Pike Tunnel East. After the playground, jump down to the freeway, keep the shotty loaded to deal with a small mole rat ambush, head north at the road fork to go up the overpass, staying in the middle of it to avoid being seen by the nearby gunners. Keep going until you reach this collapsed part of the overpass, jump down right here in power armour, and then it's a short walk to Boston Common. A freebie is a freebie, so I jumped onto a mailbox by the station entrance and sniped the middle of a bush to wake up Swan, a terrifying super mutant behemoth with only one tiny weakness. Doorways. I used up a lot of resources here, but it was worth it to access his bed, which I can't sleep in due to radiation. Okay, fine. Now, I know this write-up makes it sound like I did this entire section without any issues, and it's true, because I did, at the 12th time of asking. Here's how the first 11 times worked out.
I'm dying. My first time there, I met a bear that tried to tear my derriere. I'm scared, I'm crying. My life was ended by the mayor who wasn't there, I swear. I never should have messed with all those raiders, 'cause cocktail parties never were my scene. I never should have messed with all those raiders again. And I swear to God that Todd just hates on me. I'm dying. I rode a stag and paid the price. You'd think I'd learn, but I did it twice. Why? I'm crying. Thought I was safe at low HP. I did not know they'd spotted me. I made it to the outskirts of Goodneighbor, and all it cost me was one shield of meat. So I jumped downstairs to shuffle to the station, but I swear to God that Todd just hates on me. And then...
Powering up, Protectron on duty. Along citizen 2.
I don't know how I thought that would turn out. Yes, Piper, you may have a stim pack as a treat. I really am a merciful overlord. Luckily, there is a bed just inside Park Street Station, and a couple of grenades made light work of the triggermen here. The strat for the next section was simple. Snipe from the stairwell, back away to funnel the triggermen into my line of sight, retreat up the stairs if I needed to lose aggro, rinse and repeat. Thankfully, there are plenty of beds to save in down here, and the next room was more of the same, except for the fact I ran out of the good ammo and had to use this piece of crap. One more level up allowed me to take rank 2 of Life Giver, and I headed into Vault 114 for more of the same. The fight against Dino at the end here is a little tougher, so I used the doorway as cover to chip him down, before celebrating his soon-to-be-over life with a cocktail party.
Let's see those moves, tough guy.
I freed Nick, blew myself up, because I am very smart, and looked for a good place to put my lunchbox down while Skinny Malone monologued at us.
Well, so much for Skinny Malone.
Level 10? That's Demolition Expert rank 2 to you. Time to test this out on the raiders at Shenley's Oyster Bar. I think you'll find that's my bed. We took on some more raiders around the corner, I left Piper to bleed out in a gutter somewhere, rested up back at Diamond City, and knifed myself over to Hangman's Alley for a hostile takeover. Bullets, Molotovs, job done. Long-range stealth took care of the raiders at the USS Riptide, where I helped myself to a free mini-nuke and reported back to Nick for a spot of breaking and entering. Sadly, Kellogg, the man who stole my baby that I'm pretending to care about, wasn't there. But by getting Dogmeat to sniff his stinky butt, we'd be able to track him to Fort Hagen. A convenient idiot savant proc meant I could take another perk, namely rank 1 of Rifleman for more gun damage, and it was time for another long journey. The simplest way to get to Fort Hagen is by taking basically the same route as Dogmeat. However, there are certain scripted ambushes on the path if this quest is active, including some mole rats just south of DC, a Yao Guai hiding by a toppled tree, and a group of ferals on the bridge before Forest Grove Marsh. The first two can be completely avoided with careful pathing, and the third can be dealt with by simply not blowing yourself up with your own Molotov. One day I'll learn. I made it to the fort, took out all the turrets, and with that, Dogmeat's time was done. I don't mean he died or anything, that would be horrible. I just meant I discarded him like a child with a broken toy. Much better. Another level meant I could take Idiot Savant rank 2 for even more potential XP, and I went straight into Fort Hagen, ignoring the Greater Mass Blood Clinic, where nothing happened and there were no incidents worth mentioning.
On tonight's news, the shocking story of the Greater Mass Blood Clinic incident.
A blood clinic sounds like a great place to find blood packs, which, despite not being as effective as stim packs, can still be used as a secondary source of healing. So raiding this place seemed like a fantastic idea. Until I got down to the basement. Due to my lack of mobility and no VATs, flying things were my absolute kryptonite in this run. So a floor full of winged bugs that could two-shot me was... interesting. Especially this infected blood bug that kept reminding me of my place in the universe. Finally, I found a spot I could just about snipe it from and help myself to my rewards. Totally not worth it, but, you know, content. Time to traumatise Nick by forcing him to slaughter waves of his own family. You can hack this Protectron here, and by setting it to medical responder, it should be able to clear out a lot of the synths without attacking you. Yeah, good job, buddy. Aside of a few sneaky mines dotted around, most of the danger in here comes from the synths, but my shotty and a combat rifle did the heavy lifting, and a convenient hole in the wall allowed me to pick off the synth leader and its buddies with relative ease, before heading up to the command centre. Again, this place is crawling with synths, but at least there are plenty of beds around to save your game. There is also some good loot here, including a conveniently placed Fat Man and mini nuke, in case you forgot to pack one for the trip, and a magazine that was actually useful to me, unlike most of the ones I'd picked up so far. Another level meant rank 2 of Rifleman, and it was time for an epic showdown. Kellogg, being a reasonable man, wanted to talk things out. Me, being a man of shuffling drug-addled paranoia, politely declined his invitation to parley. I sifted through his bloodied remains for his cybernetics, used his computer to discover that my son had been taken by the Institute, and we emerged onto the roof to watch the Brotherhood show up in their gigantic flying penis that definitely isn't trying to compensate for anything. With the long trek back to Diamond City ahead, I took out my stress on some raiders, reached my destination, started attacking an invisible hitbox while walking, and got a good old American welcome from the DC security. I don't even know where to begin with that. Nick and Piper came up with the brilliant idea of shoving Kellogg's Crunchy Nut into a glorified Xbox, so I enlisted another meat shield and took the overpass route again. This time to Good Neighbour. I lived bit. As I was saying, I took the overpass route to Good Neighbour. Wait, where the hell am I?
Hello again. Welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center. The Enrichment Center apologizes for this clearly broken test chamber. Cake, and grief counseling will be available at the conclusion of the test.
Weird. It was time to poke around in Kellogg's memories, where I discovered I was in such poor health that I was still over-encumbered despite being in a simulation. Long story short, the memories revealed that the only way to access the Institute is by teleporter, and my next step should be to locate an escaped Institute scientist named Virgil, in a place called the Glowing Sea. Better pack a towel. I'd gained another couple of levels amongst all that kerfuffle, so I took rank 1 of Sniper, as well as the Ghoulish perk, which I figured would come in useful for the journey ahead. First though, I had some bullshit to get sidetracked by. I made my way back to Cambridge Police Station to speak to Dance, and we headed up to ArcJet Systems together for a scintillating time. I say together, this is another path with a bunch of ambushes, so I kept my distance and let him do all the heavy lifting. Once inside ArcJet, we dealt with swarms of synths together. I say together, I let Dance do all the heavy lifting. Are you sensing a theme here? I was feeling guilty for my lack of effort, so I made amends by frying Dance and a billion synths beneath an oversized hairdryer. He's fine, don't worry. Grabbed the MacGuffin we'd come here for, and got rewarded with membership of the Brotherhood and a new gun. Wow, this is completely useless. This starts Semper Invicta, which is listed as a Brotherhood main quest, but which I'd be ignoring. Instead, as the Pridwin had already shown up, I was invited up to speak to Elder Maxon.
I just wanted to let you know. I'm real happy to be alone.
Not now, Piper, I need to bootlick the military. This completes Shadow of Steel and leads directly into Tour of Duty. A very simple quest that has you introducing yourself to your fellow toaster fuckers.
Have you ever had or come in contact with a person confirmed to be carrying a communicable disease?
Never been seriously sick in my life.
Good.
This rewarded me with a shiny new suit of power armor, and a couple of timely idiot savant procs had gifted me 3 more levels, which I used to get Toughness 2, Medic 2, and Rifleman 3. Maxon wasn't done treating me like his little bitch boy yet, so to feed his fragile ego I was sent on a vertibird to clear Fort Strong from a bunch of mutants. The first section of this quest plays out without issues, since you can just snipe everything outside, including the behemoth, from the safety of the vertibird, even after it lands. The big fella dropped a missile launcher, which would come in pretty handy inside the fort, which unsurprisingly is also crawling with jolly green giants. I picked up another US Covert Ops manual for extra sneakiness, a mini nuke I'd be using very soon, rested in a convenient bed upstairs, and took the elevator to the hardest section of the fort. Fat Man the legendary mutant, missile everything else in sight, and blow up the guys hiding downstairs. First try, baby! The other attempts don't count. With the building cleared, I walked back to Boston Airport, stopping off at Nordhagen Beach to pay off a ransom on behalf of the settlers to unlock the workbench there, took rank 3 of toughness, and returned to the Pridwin to lick Maxon's a-hole so clean the Brotherhood could eat their tinned cram off it.
I'm glad you feel that way.
Oh, psych! You thought? I'm sorry, Maxon. I was actually just leading you on. I only want you for your vertibird grenades.
Stuck in survival mode and can't travel? Frustrated by gangs of ruffians spoiling your Sunday stroll? Embrace luxury and take to the skies in a brand new BOS-approved vertibird. Simply throw your vertibird grenade down in any outdoor area, in some outdoor areas, and use your Pip-Boy to select from any outdoor destination. From some outdoor destinations. Barbara, who approved this script? Enjoy your time on board by letting the breeze rip through your hair and de-stress by unleashing a hail of death upon the unsuspecting peasants below. And, before you know it, you'll arrive at your destination refreshed and invigorated. Warning, the BOS take no responsibility for any death or otherwise harmful injuries incurred once passengers have left the safety of the vertibird.
Earlier, when I first reached the Pridwin, I looted everything I could, because why wouldn't I? Except I somehow missed one duffel bag, which just so happened to have a direct upgrade to my sniper rifle in it. Would have been nice earlier, but I'll take it. After flying back to DC and selling up as much as I could, it was time to trek to the Costa del radiation poisoning. First though, I took a brief detour to Vault 81 to buy the Overseer's Guardian from Alexis Coombs. This unique combat rifle might cost a bomb, but its effect of shooting 2 bullets at once would be worth it for some of the tight combat scenarios I'd be facing soon. With that done, I made my way south, followed the train tracks, indulged in some sniping practice along the way, snuck past Coast Guard Pier and reached Egret Tours Marina. Just like most settlers you meet, Phyllis had a problem that needed solving, so I introduced her to my problem solver. Thanks for the bed. Now that I felt suitably refreshed, sort of, I continued south towards the edge of the glowing sea, where a Brotherhood vertibird decided to say hi by crashing into a bridge above me, deleting me from existence. With friends like these, eh? Wait a minute, this isn't the sea at all! Due to all the radiation and death and stuff, there are very few places to sleep and save in this part of the map. The most viable option being an unmarked parking garage located around here. I was down to 13 stim packs at this point in the run, so Ghoulish would come in pretty useful to heal up in the rad pools. But I still wanted to avoid combat as much as possible because... well, yeah. I crept past a Deathclaw to the right of me, used a stealth boy to avoid a group of patrolling rad scorpions, and reached the area by the parking garage, which was being guarded by a legendary rad scorpion hunter. Yeah, I'm not taking any chances. After my well-deserved rest, I continued on towards the crater of Atom. This route has a lot of scorpion ambushes, and the Overseer's Guardian came in particularly clutch here, as even without modifications, it can burst them down fairly fast. Most importantly though, I finally reached level 20 to take the most handy perk of the run, rank 3 of Life Giver. This perk gives you constant health regen when out of combat, and although I'd obviously still be taking chunks of damage from all my ailments, the regen does offset this somewhat, meaning I'd need fewer stim packs. It also has a possibly unintended side effect. See, when waiting in survival mode, you don't take any periodic damage. However, Life Giver still works, meaning you can just wait in a chair for a few hours to restore your HP, rather than using up a stim pack. I still had a couple of mini nukes in my bag, so I wasn't going to test my luck with the sleeping Deathclaw outside Virgil's cave, and headed in to speak to the man himself. Kinda.
Before I was forced to leave, I was working on a serum to reverse this mutation. I need you to find it in my old office and bring it to me. I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, no, not doing that. Virgil told me that to access the Institute, I would need to find a type of synth called a Corsair and kill them to extract a chip from them. Not that kind of chip. You're supposed to follow a trail of breadcrumbs from the CIT ruins to find the location of the Corsair. But my sole survivor knew how to break the fourth wall, so they simply looked up the location on the wiki. It's here, at Green Tech Genetics. When I started this run, I thought the trek through the glowing sea would be one of the worst sections, along with the final mission. Little did I know how annoying this quest would be. The building is swarming with gunners and turrets, who are supposedly chasing the Corsair, but actually spend most of their time metaphorically shoving barbed wire dildos up your arse instead. Death compilation? Death compilation. Everyone's hard until a fat man blows a load in their face. I could have probably phrased that slightly better in retrospect. Level 21 meant rank 1 of Bloody Mess for 5% extra damage. I took a vertibird to Boston Common, accidentally found myself in the middle of World War III, 4. Rested up and repaired at Good Neighbour and set about my next task, which was to find someone who could actually decode the chip I'd taken from the Corsair. Luckily, I know just the folks. Some raiders near the old corner bookstore very generously donated all their XP to me via a hole in their heads, which allowed me to take rank 3 of Demolition Expert. I had fun with the super mutants around Fanny Oil, that place, and rested up on a nearby building before making my way into the Old North Church and taking out the trash. No, I don't mean the ghouls. Whoops, finger slipped. And again.
We can still win this.
Tactfully tinkering with the tech of Tinker Tom's teeny tiny terminal let me analyse the chip for myself, at which point I rested up on the one mattress that for some reason isn't owned and took my private jet all the way back to Virgil to report in. Never in any doubt.
I've had word from a settlement asking for...
Nope, I've got a better idea. As Virgil Hood explained to me, in order to access the Institute, we would need to build our own teleportation thingammy-what's-it. And, as a result, I'd need to start thinking about which faction to side with for the game's ending. Despite the fact I'd already started the Brotherhood questline, I only did that for those sweet, sweet grenades. And I'd actually be finishing the game with the Minutemen. The Institute is out of the question simply because the no fast travel while over encumbered rule still applies to teleporting back to the Institute for some ridiculous reason. And, well, we don't talk about the railroad. I miss those guys. In order to complete the first step quest for the Minutemen, I had to speak to the settlers at Ten Pines Bluff, who, in turn, asked me to kill some raiders at the BAD TFL regional office. Whoops, finger slipped. And again.
I had some trouble. That settlement you sent me to, they aren't going to support our cause.
That's a real shame.
Preston was so impressed with my utter lack of effort that he named me General of the Minutemen, and then instantly started giving me orders. Wait a minute. More importantly though, I could now ask him for help, and he directed me to Sturgis. You good down there, little guy? Whilst here, I handled a bit of other business. I quickly completed the Sanctuary quest for Sturgis, which just involves building a bunch of stuff, and constructed a beacon to start attracting settlers to Sanctuary, who I then sent away to populate my other settlements on arrival. I'd already made sure to hoard all the materials I needed to build the teleporter. Sturgis put in some absolutely sterling work doing, something I guess, and against all odds, I zapped into the Institute in one piece. I mean, relatively in one piece. Father! No, wait, son! Who the hell are you? This is all very confusing.
I know.
After a touching family reunion, father-son invited me to admire the Institute, which I interpreted as telling me to help myself to all its resources. I met all the department heads. Yes, keep talking, I'm definitely not going to blow someone up in the next 2 minutes. And blasted some poor sap named Enrico before making a swift escape from the Institute. And, in doing so, carrying on a long tradition of disappointing my family members. These shenanigans had got me to level 25, so I took Sniper rank 2 and put the other point into Charisma, vertibirded back to Sanctuary, and gave Preston the good news that we homies for life. Yeah. A quick word about the Minutemen questline, since the online info isn't always clear on this. At set points in the quest, the game will do a check of how many Minutemen aligned settlements you have. However, that doesn't mean that you have to accept all of Preston's annoying fluff. Any settlement you've unlocked, which has at least one settler in it, counts as Minutemen aligned regardless of how you obtained it. Killing a couple of ferals and setting up another beacon at Sunshine Tidings Co-op triggered the first of these checks for me. And having at least 4 settlements at this point starts taking independence, the quest to retake the castle. I restocked on grenades from Tegan, flew to South Boston PD, and made my way over to Preston and the boys to discuss strategy.
Let's just get in there and shoot those lobsters.
Sure. Who are you again? I opted for the funnel approach, sniped a few Mirelurks, and lured the rest over to die in a hail of gunfire. Taking out the egg clusters dotted around triggers a very angry Mirelurk queen, whose acidic spit can ruin your entire year quicker than I ruined Kellogg's. With my lesson learned, I hid in a doorway and launched her to death. We set up a new beacon and the castle was ours. After sharing the good news with all the friends I'd been making and sending them all to the castle, because the more the merrier, I waited a few days, which causes Ronnie Shaw to appear, a veteran Minuteman who informed me of a stockpile of weapons in the basement. So, after dealing with a few minor inconveniences, we got our hands on some heavy artillery plans, I built a couple of big cannons, and we tested them by raining down hellfire and damnation on a building we hadn't even checked was empty first. Because, yeehaw, America, etc. This completes the Old Guns quest, which triggers another settlement check. As long as you have at least 8 at this point, including the castle, form ranks will complete and defend the castle starts, in which you have to, well, defend the castle from multiple waves of synths and coursers sent by the Institute. Here's how that worked out for them. Oops, sorry, wrong footage. I meant this one, of course. Despite the fact that defending the castle fails the Brotherhood quest Semper Invicta, it doesn't actually make you enemies with them, so you can still use vertibird grenades, which is nice. More importantly, I found out that Sturgis had found a backdoor into the Institute with the aid of a holotape I snuck out earlier, and this starts the final main quest in the Minutemen ending, the nuclear option. Quick stats update. I was now level 29 and had taken ranks 1 and 2 of Lone Wanderer, as other people suck. Despite all the perks I'd accumulated, this section was the hardest part of the run for a simple reason. After heading to the north side of the river and taking out some raiders, at least I think that's what happened, I could hardly see anything, I helped myself to their bed, and this would be the last place I could save. So if I die at any point during this quest, I have to do the entire thing again. I planned and routed this very carefully, I swear. Here's how the actual clear turned out. Jesus! Okay. Whew, give me a sec. Whew. You're grounded.
get out of here and fast before they figure out what we've done.
With the charges placed on the reactor, I rallied the troops, got myself a substitute son, call that a sonstitute. And we teleported to the roof of the mass fusion building, where I pressed a big red button that made the whole shebang go kaboom. Because if my time in the Commonwealth had taught me one thing, it's that war never... No, wait, it taught me nothing. My bad, carry on.